Alright guys, since today is my 28th birthday, it's not really a special occasion or anything, but I figured, fuck it, why not? I'll go through, you know, a lot of my stuff just to show you guys what I use, you know, even show you guys my tools and things like that, what I used to work on guitars with, yeah, all my setup and everything. Like I said, it'll have to be a two-parter because I have some stuff here in my room and then all my other stuff is somewhere else. So I'm going to have to, you know, do a second part to it to show you guys the rest of my equipment, like my real equipment, basically. I mean, some of my guitars are here, but you know what I mean. Like my real pedals, my real amp, and things like that. But right now, this is my little practice amp. It's a PV Viper 2. It's a piece of shit. A lot of people say it's a great amp. No, it isn't. It definitely is not. PV definitely let me down on this amp because, I don't know, I think it sounds like shit. I got a Eminence speaker in it, which kind of opened it up a little bit more. Makes it sound a little bit better, but all in all, it always sort of sounds like there's some kind of like a sheet or a wall that you're playing behind. You know what I mean? Guitar players will know what I mean. If you've ever played through a crappy amp, it sounds like there's like a sheet over it or something. Sounds like you're behind something. This is that kind of amp. You know, it's supposed to have a bunch of different amp models and things like that, but, you know, it doesn't really... There's only like maybe 3 that are usable, and that'd be the twin setting, the Fender twin setting, the classic setting, and the British setting. It actually does really great for acoustic, though, I will say. That's kind of an odd thing, but when you plug your acoustic into it, it's got some cool effects for acoustic, and, you know, it doesn't sound too bad. So they didn't fail that one, but I mean, it's fine for just playing in a bedroom and stuff, you know, like just jamming, have something that makes some sound to play with. But, you know, if you're going to gig and things like that, I wouldn't recommend getting one of these to do that. As with any rig that I use, I always have the Boss NS2 noise suppressor, the old style, the ones before 2004 or 5. They started changing the, you know, solder joints and things like that they did. I think they used lead-free solder or something. And I don't know what it did, but it kind of killed, you know, the pedal. Every time when you turn it on, it just sucks all your tone out of your amp, which these old ones didn't. They were perfect. That's one of the best noise suppressors on the planet to me. And it was cheap, too, so... I had one of them stolen back when I was in my first, like, real band where we were actually, like, touring and playing and stuff. We went and played, like, Moses Lake, and I don't know how someone just jacked me right, like, as we were loading back up. We had just gotten off stage, got done playing and stuff, and took my cab and put it in the truck or whatever, and came back to get the rest of my stuff, and my pedal was gone. So I've had a few of these over the years. I've got one on my main rig, and then I've got one right here. So after that, we'll go here to some of my tools. Now, this is weird. Okay, so I'll try to show you some of this stuff. There's a lot of stuff here, but, you know, these kind of scratch pads for, you know, scuffing up the back of your neck so it doesn't get all sticky, so it's not, you know, super shiny and glossy on the back of your neck. It just feels way better. This is what I use for that. Flashlight, you know, Allen keys. Here's some of those those pick holders that I got, that I did a review on. These are always good to find the gauge, find the sizes of whatever you're, you know, drilling holes in. Here's a fret leveler. You got some of these. These are super cheap. They're just fret files, different kinds of files. These are handy, and they're super cheap, so you don't have to worry about fucking them up. You can just get more. In here is Big Ben's gloss sauce and the fretboard juice. This is the stuff I use. Fuck, I'm almost out. I'm gonna have to get more. But Big Ben's makes really nice stuff. I like their stuff. So if you guys, you know, are wondering what to get, I mean, you can pretty much get anything. Mineral oil works on fretboards. It's pretty much all the same shit anyway. It's all like a petroleum distillate. Gotta have a nice pair of wire cutters. This is a really nice pair. These are brand new. I just got these because my other ones were starting to wear out. Here's a little one for like fret ends and getting way up onto it and clipping them. Got razors in here, you know, some tape. Always, always, always gotta have a multi-tool. You know, you never know when you're gonna need it. It's got a bunch of different things that you can use, but usually it's for the needle nose pliers. This is what I've been using for years. I'm almost out of this too. This is what I use for polishing the frets and, you know, polishing any metal. These little things like this. See, I have some up here. These are just like guitar bits. They're different screws. You know, all sorts of different screws, washers, different little parts and pieces and things from different guitars that I've worked on, things I've, you know, taken apart. Oh, you always want to keep things like that. Any screws you take out of guitars, if they're intact or anything, you always want to keep them because you never know when you might need them some other point. So I always keep these kinds of things. So these are all tattoo wax deals. The tat wax. And yeah, I just keep all those types of things in here. Always got to have the super fine steel wool. This is great for helping polishing up the frets, finishing them off. This is the quadruple zero fine, super fine. It's really nice. Gets it nice and smooth. You know, extra razor blades, another razor. This is crucial to people who want their guitar to stay in tune. It's Big Ben's nut sauce. You put this in the nut slots. You know, it's got a really precise tip on here. And you put it into the slots, and this thing is to kind of get it in there. And that will help the strings glide nice and smooth over the nut, so it doesn't get all caught up and your guitar goes out of tune. You have tuning instability and stuff. This stuff is the shit. It's kind of expensive, but it lasts for fucking ever. I mean, it comes with just the tip like this, full of this stuff, and you only use just a tiny little bit, and it goes a long way. Always got to have electrical tape. And super glue. This is for nut slots, you know, slotting out the nut. Like playing with nuts, you know. Here's an extra label for the Strat. They get when you get them online, they usually give you two because, you know, they're pretty easy to fuck up. But luckily I got mine on first try, so now I have an extra one in case I ever want to do another Strat. Make it cool like that. different kinds of electrical tapes, you know, when you're doing wiring and things like that, and you need to color code things. It's pretty handy stuff. A magnet, you know, some kind of magnet is pretty good to have if you can't get to something and you need to just pick it all up real quick. This is what I use that for. This is just odds and ends. You know, I got toothpicks and ear swabs and stuff just for cleaning different things. These are for, you know, filling holes, unless, you know, when your strap buttons start coming loose, you jam one of these in there, put a bunch of super glue in there, and then put the next one and screw it in, and it won't come out again. Things like that. Just odds and ends. You know, eraser for putting underneath the bridge, you know, on a Floyd Rose or something, keeping it from sinking down. Random capo. Here's a bunch of, you know, different parts. Like I said, if you have any odds and end parts that you get off other guitars, keep them, because you never know when you can use them. Some foam, some cotton swabs. You put some alcohol on this and you can clean off things. You know, tons of stuff. I've got a bunch of wiring down here. I've got sandpaper and things like that down here. You just want to have as much as you can at your disposal, because you never know what you're going to need and when you're going to need it. That's just the first toolbox. Then I got this one. And this was sort of my main one until I got the other one I just showed you. You know, this was pretty much fucking full, completely full of stuff. A lot of the stuff that was in that other one was all in here. So, yeah, you know, some more metal clippers and, you know, those pliers. Here's a fret rocker to see if your frets are level. Allen wrenches. You know, there's a million different Allen keys for different guitars and different things. This is kind of dirty. I know. You could see a lot of the nasty dirt. I haven't cleaned it for a little bit. You know, sockets. Regular Phillips head screwdriver. Sharpies. Small, tiny screwdrivers, which are really handy on certain things. You know, toothbrush just to clean things, getting down and cleaning things. You always, always, always want to have microfiber cloths, because they work awesome for pretty much everything. For cleaning up the guitar itself, you know, cleaning the fretboard, polishing up the frets at the end, you know, because you can wash these, reuse them over and over and over and over, and they don't leave any like little hairs and things like that when you're working with stuff like some paper towels and things like that will. They leave little fibers behind and stuff. Just foam. This is more foam, like putting underneath the strings and stuff, so there's no residual ringing. More of the steel wool, duct tape, more foam, a bunch of these rags, metal cutters. These are fret end cutters, heavy duty metal cutters, blue tape. This is for taping up the fretboard while you're working on the frets. Different tools. Here's a bunch of different, I've got a ton of different kinds of knobs, you know, got a bunch of different ones in there. It's like I said, you never know when you're gonna need something like that. Some batteries for pedals, some more metal polish. Metal polish is a big one. I use that a lot. Pretty much every time I change the strings, unless I need to do a full fret job, I just get some polish and I polish them out just to make them look nice and smooth again. These are a bunch of tuners, a bunch of different kinds of tuners. I got a bunch of wiring down underneath here, and shitloads of strings. So these are all like singles, things like that, different sizes. You snap a string or something, you always want to have extras. So these are accumulated from a long time. I've also been buying singles. You can see there's 3 single 62s, and a lot of them are just extra ones from old packs that I didn't use. I had other strings, things like that. Keep all that kind of stuff, because you never know. You never know. These are some of the best strings out there on the market today. The only problem is they're a fucking ripoff. They're like $14, $13 a pack, which is fucking outrageous, but they're really nice strings. They break in really well, they stay in tune really well. They're just really, really nice. This is kind of the backup for those. Just, they were cheap. This is a different size. This is for when I was playing in either D sharp or D on my Strat. This is a Dunlop heavy core 10 to 48. These are really nice strings. Dunlop makes really nice strings. DR has always been my main guys. I don't know, I just really like their strings. I've never had a problem with them breaking or anything like that very much. So, and they've always, they've always had good tone right off the bat. They just sound nice, and they feel good. That's the best thing. They feel really nice. This was my main size string for years, because in my last band, that Autism band, that music that I've put up for you guys, that was all in drop C. And so in drop C I use 10 to 56 size strings. And now I'm kind of using them for drop B, because since I bumped up with pick size, I've actually been able to go a little bit looser with the strings. Except now, what I've sort of been doing is throwing it, instead of the 56, I have some 58s in here, just throwing a 58 on the top, and it kind of makes the drop B tuning a bit better. This one's for, this is for my Schecter for like drop A. I usually put a 62 on the top instead of the 60. The 60 works, I just like a little bit more tension on the top, or on the bottom, whatever. Elixir Polyweb for acoustic. These are Dean Markley Helix strings. They say lasts up to 5 times longer. The fuck they do. No, they do not. Dean Markley strings, I don't know. I used to be a fan of them back when I first started, and now I'm just like, eh. These are the worst strings I have ever played with in my entire life, ever. And they're a ripoff on top of it. They're like the sandpapery sort of fucking string. They just feel like shit. They feel terrible. They're not slick. They're not smooth. They don't feel good under your fingers. And they eat your frets alive. They just eat the shit out of your frets, because this cobalt material is so much harder than the nickel material that most frets are made out of. Unless you have stainless steel frets, I wouldn't recommend those strings. I don't really know what I'm going to do with those, but the plains, the unwound ones are fine. They're not; those ones aren't too bad. But those wound ones, holy shit, they're terrible. All right, so that's pretty much the tools. I don't want to show you every little tiny, thing that I have in there. So for starters, up here I've got my Fernandez Monterey. This is like the original version of the Monterey. The ones I have now only have 3 knobs, and this is up here where, most Les Pauls are. So mine's the old school one. Yeah, it's got a lot of wear on the bridge. I mean, I've been playing this thing for fucking long time. EMG 81, EMG X 60. The EMG X is like just a little bit different than a standard EMG. I can't remember what the difference is exactly, but I think they said they're a little bit more open, you know, like more sort of like a passive pickup, you know, sounding the dynamic of them. They kind of made these before they started making the new EMG 66 57s. So extra jumbo frets, really nice rosewood fingerboard. You know, the back of the neck, you got mahogany. What I've done recently is I sanded all the finish off of the back of the neck. This is El Jefe. You got Grover tuners, but yeah, this is a really big fat neck, and what I was doing was just sanding it, you know, with some of the Scotch-Brite pads, just to make it sort of smooth. And I decided to just bring it down to the bare wood, put a little bit of stain over it just to kind of seal it up a little bit. But it feels, I don't know, I have to get used to it. It feels way different, but I don't know, it's nice. I like it. Most of my guitars, I always do this with the fret markers. I use fingernail I got white and black fingernail polish, and I just I make the markers nice and wide so you can see them in dim light, and you know, all sorts of shit like that. You got the stickers and little thing I painted on there, naked chick. All sorts of cool stuff. And always gotta have strap locks. I usually use the Dunlop dual design strap locks, so even if you know, if you lose your strap or something and then you need to just throw a strap on, you still can. Here's the Ibanez Apex, where this is the first time I've ever tried these DiMarzio strap lock kinds. I really like it so far. I got this nice camo version. It's made out of some special material, I forget what it is. It's nice and kind of soft. Yeah, I just figured, since this guitar is kind of my oddball, I figured I'd do everything different than what I usually do. So instead of my EMGs, I got myself passive pickups. I got this is a DiMarzio Blaze. This is a DiMarzio PAF7. One volume, 3-way switch, string through, and a two-pneumatic bridge. It's locking, but I'm waiting on the guys from Tone Pros to send me another little screw to lock this side. You always lose one of these, so yeah, extra jumbo frets again, rosewood fretboard. I got the this is what I was talking about a minute ago. Put the foam underneath the string so you don't get residual, you know, ringing or anything. Got the pieced out neck, little tuner. Here's the Strat. You guys all know this thing. This is the one I built myself, or rebuilt. Came all black, had a different neck on it, different pickups, different pick guard, different everything. So I changed pretty much everything on this guitar, different paint job. Got the nitro, and I relicked it, you know, because Fender guitars just need to look beat up. It's just that is the epitome of what a Fender guitar is to me. It's just that kind of rugged, beat up look. But this one's kind of a hot rodded version of that. So you got the graphite saddles, you got the big bridge block underneath, you got Seymour Duncan JB, you got the Fender Custom Shop Texas Specials single coils, which I got hooked up from a buddy of mine on here. Thank you for that. You know, one volume. Tone doesn't really do anything. You got all the skull accoutrements on here. Skull knob, skull jack plate, skull thingy. Little Jack Daniels pick right here to cover up the hole where the volume used to be. The maple neck with the ebony fretboard, 12-inch radius on it. It's more like a Gibson radius. It's nicer. It's a lot flatter than a regular Fender, because I'm just used to 12-inch radiuses, or, you know, higher, like 16 and things like that. Tusk nut on there. You got 2 graphite string trees, and you got Planet Waves trim lock tuners with special Schaller tuning, you know, Perloid tuning keys on there that were super expensive for tuning keys. And yeah, this is the other label that I got put on. Perfect, first try. Fucking A. And last but not least, for up here, like I said, I'm gonna have to make a part 2. This is my Fender acoustic. This is the back of it. The fucking gorgeous burl ash, mahogany neck, and then as a lot of people know, I completely redid the top of this guitar. So it had a super thick ass coating on it that took forever to get down to the wood, and then put some stain over it, and then threw on some nitro, and it sounds a million times better. It looks nice. I really love it now. It opened up the sound considerably. I can't believe that anyone would put a really thick coating on the top of an acoustic, because the top is where all the tone is on an acoustic, and this is really nice. Solid spruce. Really nice solid spruce. This is like, well, I don't know why the fuck you would do that. Spent extra on an authentic Martin pickguard, which is really pretty. Brass saddle pegs, whatever. A Tusk bridge saddle. This has got a authentic bone nut, which for bone nuts, that's where you really are gonna need the Big Ben's nut sauce. That's kind of what those are for. If you have a graphite nut or a Tusk nut, you don't necessarily need to put on the Big Ben's. You can. It will still help. You know, any little edge you can get on a guitar, you know, for tuning is better. But it's made predominantly for, you know, nuts like that. And you could put it on the bridge too, wherever the strings are touching on any guitar. Graphite and Tusk from Graphtec they're self-lubricating, but I mean, it's not going to hurt it to put on the Big Ben's nut sauce. But so that's pretty much everything I've got right here. Like I said, we'll have to do a part 2 so I can show you guys the rest of my equipment. But you know, peace out.